You wake up at 6:47 a.m. The alarm feels the same every single day, like it has been cloned and repeated for years without permission. You open your eyes, and for a brief second, you hope something might feel different, but everything looks exactly like yesterday. The ceiling is familiar in a way that feels almost mechanical. Your body moves before your thoughts even wake up, as if your life has been programmed on repeat. There is no excitement, only continuation of something already decided. You get ready without thinking too much about it. The toothbrush, the water, the clothes, everything follows a silent script that your mind no longer questions. You are not choosing your morning anymore. You are just executing it. You'll leave the house and step into a world that feels unchanged. The air, the noise, the roads all feel like they are part of a loop that resets every night. Nothing feels new, yet everything keeps moving. Traffic becomes your daily pause button. You sit there surrounded by hundreds of other lives, also heading somewhere they have been before. It creates a strange feeling that everyone is moving, but nothing is actually changing. And somewhere between your second coffee and the 3 p.m. meeting, your mind starts speaking quietly. It does not shout or demand attention. It simply appears like a thought you didn't invite. That's when the discomfort begins. This isn't working, the thought whispers. It doesn't feel emotional. It feels factual. Like your brain is simply reporting something it has observed over time. You try to ignore it, but it stays. Then another thought follows it, like a shadow. This might never work. It is heavier, more uncomfortable, and harder to push away. It starts changing how you look at your own routine, and then the final thought arrives, deeper than the rest. Am I going to do this for the next 40 years? That question does not leave immediately. It settles somewhere inside you and stays quiet, but alive. But what most people never realize is this. The rat race is not a physical place you can leave by quitting your job or moving cities. It is something that exists inside your thinking patterns. It is not your office building or your manager or your schedule. It is the way you interpret time, money, and progress. That mindset quietly decides whether you feel trapped or in control. And slowly, without any announcement or dramatic moment, you might already have started shifting away from it. Not in a way others can see, but in a way your decisions begin to reflect. This is not an escape that happens overnight. It is a slow change in how you respond to life, and these signs reveal the change more clearly than anything else ever could. Sign 7 begins with something subtle but powerful. You become comfortable with being invisible, not because you lost confidence, but because attention no longer feels necessary for validation. There was a time when every achievement needed to be shared. If something good happened, it had to be posted, liked, and acknowledged by others to feel real. Silence used to feel like absence of success, but that version of you slowly fades. Now good things happen, and you don't feel the urge to announce them. You simply experience them and move on without needing external approval. A raise comes in, and you don't tell everyone. A milestone is reached, and it stays private. Something you worked hard for arrives, and you simply use it without turning it into a performance. This shift happens because you start understanding something deeper. The more visible your life becomes, the more opinions start entering it. And opinions always come with emotional cost. People begin comparing your life to theirs. Some judge your decisions without context. Others start expecting things from you, simply because they now know you're progressing. So you step back quietly, not to disappear, but to protect your focus. And strangely, your progress becomes smoother when fewer people are watching it. You realize that silence is not emptiness, it is space. And in that space, your life starts growing without interruption or comparison. Sign 6 appears when your financial thinking becomes structured. You now have something most people never define clearly, a walkaway number that represents your financial independence. This number is not vague or emotional, it is calculated. It represents the point where working becomes optional rather than necessary. It gives direction to your entire financial journey. Maybe it is $1 million invested. Maybe it is monthly passive income that covers all expenses. Whatever the number is, it exists clearly in your mind and guides your decisions. You also know exactly where you stand in relation to it. There is no guessing or hoping. There is only measurement and progress tracking over time. This changes how you experience your job completely. It stops feeling like a permanent identity and starts feeling like a temporary funding system for your future. Every paycheck becomes progress toward something larger. Every saving decision reduces the distance between where you are and where you want to be. Life stops feeling like an endless cycle and starts feeling like a measurable journey. You are no longer stuck inside time. You are moving through it with direction. Sign 5 becomes visible when your identity detaches from your job title. You no longer define yourself by your position or company or professional label. You understand that your job is not who you are. It is simply a system that converts your time into income. Nothing more, nothing less. This understanding creates emotional distance between you and workplace events. Promotions no longer define your worth. Organizational changes no longer shake your identity. If someone moves ahead of you, you observe it without internal collapse. If changes happen in your company, you adjust without emotional disruption. Your stability is no longer dependent on external structure, because your real identity is no longer tied to your workplace. It is tied to what you are building outside of it. That is where your real life exists. This separation gives you clarity. You work seriously, but you do not emotionally attach your existence to your work. That balance changes everything. Cipher shows up in your relationship with consumption. You stop buying things just to be seen or approved by people who do not influence your real life. There was a time when expensive objects carried emotional weight. Watches, cars, clothes, all represented status rather than function. Approval from others felt important. But now, something changes. You start calculating the long-term value of every purchase. Not just price, but opportunity cost over time. That expensive item is no longer just money spent. It becomes future wealth lost. A silent trade between present image and future freedom. And suddenly, the desire for status fades. Not because you cannot afford things, but because you understand what they actually cost beyond money. When others buy things for attention, you no longer feel pressure to match them. Instead, you feel relieved that you chose differently. You stop paying for approval and start paying yourself instead. And that shift silently increases your financial independence over time. Sign 3 begins when money starts appearing without direct effort. It may be small, but its meaning is extremely large. A dividend payment arrives. Interest accumulates. A small investment return lands in your account. None of it required your active time that day. This moment breaks a fundamental belief. The belief that money only comes from direct effort and hours worked. That assumption no longer holds completely true. Now you understand that money can be generated through systems that operate even when you are not actively working. This realization opens a completely different way of thinking. You're no longer limited to trading time for money. You can build structures that work independently. Even small passive income becomes proof of concept. It shows that financial systems can exist outside your personal effort cycle. Once you see that, your entire perspective on earning changes permanently. Sign 2 appears when financial clarity replaces confusion. You no longer estimate your financial life. You measure it accurately. You know your net worth precisely. You know your expenses, your savings rate, and your financial direction without guessing or avoiding the numbers. This awareness removes uncertainty. Your finances are no longer something emotional or unclear. They become structured data you can analyze, because what you measure consistently becomes something you can control, and what you control consistently becomes something you can improve. Most people avoid this clarity because it feels uncomfortable, but you move toward it because it gives you power. And that shift alone separates those who drift financially from those who direct their financial future intentionally. Sign 1 becomes the most powerful indicator of all. Your income increases, but your lifestyle remains stable and unchanged. You receive raises, bonuses, or better opportunities. More money enters your system, but your lifestyle does not automatically expand with it. Instead of upgrading everything, you redirect the difference. You allocate it toward investments, savings, and future growth. This creates a gap between income and lifestyle, and that gap becomes the foundation of wealth creation. Most people close that gap immediately through spending, but you widen it through discipline and structure, and over time, that decision compounds into something powerful. Not just money accumulation, but freedom creation. Because wealth is not defined by how much you earn. It is defined by how much of your income never gets consumed, and that is the final truth most people miss. The rat race is not about where you work or what you do. It is about how you think about money, time, and growth. Two people can earn the same income and live completely different financial realities. One remains stuck, the other slowly becomes free, because one increases lifestyle with income, while the other increases freedom instead. And that difference compounds silently over years. Escape is never a single moment. It is a pattern of decisions repeated consistently over time. And if you recognize even a few of these signs, something important is already happening inside your life. You are no longer fully where you used to be. You are transitioning into something different without announcing it. Not loudly, not publicly, but steadily and quietly. And one day, you will realize something simple but powerful. You didn't escape the rat race in one moment. You escaped it one decision at a time.